Yo, 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 welcome, one and all to Yah'm saying podcast. Remember to share, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we're gonna have a conversation tonight about the election reactions to our, our thoughts about the reaction and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Me and Doc was already chopping it up. So I kind of want you to finish your thought there, Doc.
Oh man, first and foremost, man, I want to say appreciate the opportunity to come to the platform once again. There's a time for serious discussion, man, and serious conversations, and you have to be able to have those with people who can have a serious discussion about a serious time, especially in a time when people are confused about events in our time. And I appreciate that space, man. But as I was saying, man, I think what we're seeing happening is there's really no left party in America. I think we're seeing that the Democratic Party is fascism light, and they didn't put up a fight that I would have expected to see, especially at the end. I think about policing our in-group activities. I appreciate some of the posts you were putting about, we overblown the issue of black men support. Black men didn't win or lose this election for anybody.
Not at all.
Didn't. Not at all. So when we bring up this idea of in-group activity, I appreciate my brethren here, and I love the hat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I love the hat. Hey, the hat is beautiful. Hey, but I think it's so powerful, man, because what we're seeing here is there's going to be some reckoning in our country. Because when you force people to deal with the reality that they didn't think exists, like we didn't think this could happen. A felon, sexual offender, we never thought it. But when we saw how low the bar for whiteness is and what whiteness will do to protect whiteness and the intersection of the patriarchy and how other racial groups look to white supremacy as a comfort. And I don't think we deal with that issue enough about how we find comfort in this idea that no matter how unqualified this person is, he's white, and that makes me feel okay. And I think that is being examined here. And I will say, for the first time in a long time, you're seeing people in America who have European descent, and they're nervous here. See, if you black in America, you ain't nervous about nothing here. Hey,
that was gonna be one of the things I talk about. Like, look, black, me and JY talked about that.
Bro, my dude from Mississippi told me, he said, look, y'all northerners is getting a little y'all northerners getting excited out here. We do this our whole life. Y'all getting a late welcome to a party that we live in life.
Yeah, man.
And so that regional perspective is, I think, so important. But when you start to look at something, and I say here that why so many people didn't show up to the polls, and I don't think we talk about voter intimidation and what it meant on the right. There were black people in the South who were afraid to go vote because they thought MAGA was going to be out there intimidating. We saw the dude in Florida with the machete at the polls. Psychologically, what does it do to you if somebody's at the polls with a machete? I'm not thinking I'm going to take time out of my day to go stand in the line for 2 hours because I live in an area that's predominantly of a minority background, and I know that they have to wait longer by design to vote. But that's another issue. And I say that in Georgia, they had bomb threats being called in. In the biggest county, Gwinnett County of Georgia, had 2 bomb threats, and then if I'm once again going to the polls and I'm knowing there's bomb threats going on, am I likely to go there?
Yeah.
And so we don't factor in that terrorism because that's what it is.
Nobody want to talk about it. I bet you after this election, what's going to happen is they're going to have a bunch of white folks. And then, John, I'm going to come to you with the temp check here. They're going to have a bunch of white folks. You know what I mean? Why did you vote for Trump? You know what I'm saying? They're not going to talk about the bomb threats, which the FBI put on their website, said that some of those were coming from Russia. You know what I mean? Russian influence. They put out that information. It just blew in the wind. Like nobody, like, yo, of course Russia wants this man to win, just like in 2016.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It benefits them, you know what I mean? Because the domino effect is no money. Ukraine, Ukraine gets taken over by Russia. You closer to Poland.
Yep.
Already have a president who already said he don't like NATO. You know what I'm saying? Like the dominoes that's just gonna fall that I just don't think people are prepared for. But go ahead, JY.
Yeah. So also there was reports that even local police officers in Gwinnett County and other counties in Georgia um got wind of these threats weeks before the election. So they knew the threats were coming. Um and there was nothing being done, nothing to warn the poll workers for readiness and so forth.
Yeah.
Again, man, when you start talking about like and people at this point in time, like they're nauseous around talking about white supremacy and how it functions, right?
And whiteness.
Yes, and whiteness, and that conversation right there is terrifying for actual white people to actually deal with.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because now you're dealing with and we talked about this so many times that man dealing with your own psychological behaviors it is the most difficult thing in the difficult journey for any person.
Yeah.
Right. And the problem that we have seen in this election today is white people, Spanish people, and some African Americans don't want to deal with their psychological damage of internalizing what whiteness is, and how it functions and operates.
I agree. And I'm coming to you, Doc, here. Sound like the one thing most definitely this was 71% of white people who could vote showed up to vote. 55% of them voted for immorality. I'm gonna just say it. They voted for immorality, but we'll talk about that later. But they voted for Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? And of course, you start to look at the numbers and you look at the people who are adjacent to white folks, and then you look at the numbers for black men who want to be like white folks. Not only that, not just white folks. They want to be like white men. Just to be clear, they want their own version of white supremacy within the black ethnic group, within the black culture. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the red pill podcasts, you know what I'm saying? One of those things me and JY talked about was like, the ADOS FBA movement kind of created, if you ever listen to their language, I listened to them, for a few months. I mean, they kind of, they're okay with a Trump presidency, even though they're not going to get anything from it. You know what I'm saying? But one of those things, Doc, is that, that JY brought up is, the proximity, what I mean? Whiteness. There's a reconciliation that this country has to come across with whiteness. And I'll say this and I'll land my plane, let you, Doc, chime in. Martin Luther King talks about this. And where do we go from here? Chaos or community? You know what I'm saying? Hey, what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? When you can no longer depend on your whiteness. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
go ahead, Doc.
Man, but you know what? I will tell you this, man. We're in an era of emotional reasoning right now. People are making decisions from an emotional perspective and an emotional idea. So I will say this. As a tactician, I want to understand what strategy will be the most effective to the object that you're seeing. So, for example, my dog will only expose his underbelly or lay on his back when he is around trusted people. He will not lay on his back around strangers because he is vulnerable in that position. He only does it around when you feel comfortable and safe. He's free. He'll just expose himself, and he's just like, I'm in my area. I know nobody can mess with me. So with whiteness, the underbelly of whiteness has been exposed. We know where it's vulnerable at. We know where it's tender. We know where it's, if we push here, it's going to do that. So when you understand, this is why you have to use intersectionality. Because Robin DiAngelo's analysis is not enough. Her analysis is a white perspective of a problem that she conceptualizes as fragility, docility. I think that's a lie. I think that she also protects her own whiteness. And she says it's fragility. See, I don't believe that. I'm going to use a black framework and I'm going to call it rage. That's what it is. It's rage that likes to hide in fragility. It's no different than when you try to, and I will say this, and Noah, when you try to hold somebody accountable who is emotional, sometimes they will just start crying. I know if you've ever experienced this, but they will just break down emotionally because they cannot conceptualize the reality in the present. So their sympathetic nervous system comes in to protect them, and they start to cry. Now, what you're seeing people learn how to do who are skillful, they can say, listen, hold your tears. We don't need those right now, but I have to tell you that before I talk to you. You have to know that before I talk to you, because I can't make you a better opponent unless I teach you how to fight better. But if I teach you how to fight better, I'm going to make a logical argument for white supremacy for you. And see, we cannot talk about black nationalism. We cannot talk about black empowerment. We cannot talk about anything black collective and not understand that it will produce the counter narrative or the interest convergence in whiteness. Because the white folks will say, if you black folks want to get together and have your own clubs, we want our clubs. If you guys want to do that, we want to do that. And my argument should be, okay, but if we do this the right way, we won't try to infiltrate your spaces. But you don't feel comfortable in this country not knowing what happens in our spaces. You don't feel comfortable in our spaces not knowing what we're doing. You don't like not knowing what is on the black mind. It's what Paul Lawrence Dunbar talked about, the mask that we wear. The smile on our face hides something in America. The happy Negro adage, it's only you so far. Because I want to see you in a happier position. Right. Because if you look sad, I might feel bad. And God forbid the master feel bad because he ain't here for that. Yeah. So when I say emotional times, I haven't made any posts on social media since the election. And for two reasons. Because one, I like to quantify data. I'm a quantifier before I speak. I need to know what I'm saying because I understand that we speak in a vacuum. Right. We speak in a vacuum, and most people only want to be in an echo chamber. But to your point earlier about this, we were talking about leading up to this election that politics is war. Yeah. What we're seeing happening is this: the camps, before we fight each other, we have to make sure that the camp has our self-interest in mind. So you're seeing, and this is some people, you put together the rhetoric. When people are delusional, they'll speak not sequentially. So what they'll say we need to do a purge in America, but then they'll say that the enemy is within, and then they'll say law enforcement needs full immunity, right? Well, by itself, those statements may be innocuous, but now let's put those three statements together, and form a cohesive thought. We need to purge people who don't support him, but by using violence, because our enemy is anybody who doesn't support MAGA, and we need our police force, who the FOP endorsed, not the prosecutor, the police endorsed the felon. So we need these people to go out, and now the most dangerous part, because a lot of people make 1933 references to Hitler, and sometimes there's nuances that are missed. But when Hitler won in 33, he wasn't a dictator on day one. Right, exactly. They needed the Reichstag fire. They needed the enabling acts. So one of his jobs, and this is where we have to prepare for this, is that one of the jobs to create a dictatorship is you need civil disorder, you need civil unrest, and you need an emergency, or you need a reason to you need a reason to usurp power that is technically legal. And how you would do that in America is you would essentially embolden a lot of these closeted white supremacists are now feeling more bravado now. They're feeling like I am in the majority now. My views are now mainstream because the president who I picked shares my sentiments. Because he questions, like, do you know how many white people now feel they can question your intelligence on your job because he questioned her intelligence? Because he questioned her intelligence, they feel like, well, every black person's intelligence should be questioned.
And to bring it to historical, present, you know what I'm saying, is like Charlottesville. Charlottesville was right after Trump got elected.
Yes.
Yep, right.
But they need that, and so you're going to see a rampant movement. Now, what people don't know about America is there is a radical left here. They're just not organized.
Just not organized.
But they're radical. There's a younger generation of nihilistic behavior on the left here who sees the world and they don't mind it burning.
Yeah.
They don't want to conserve anything here. They think this place is a dustbin. It needs to go up in flames, and they will let the fire.
Yeah.
And so you sit in between these two factions, and all they need is a reason to intersect.
Yeah.
And we have the person in potential position of power who knows how to make things intersect in a violent way, because he does not have the emotional intelligence to know that this is a time I need to be quiet.
Yeah.
I don't have to speak on every issue that's out there in the world, and I can't just hate people because they dislike me.
Because
Now, what made it so dangerous is white women have never been threatened politically in this country by a political figure. When he threatened Liz Cheney, a white woman, it was concerning, because usually political violence doesn't happen among whiteness. So usually the same way that black people right now are purging people who are black in color only, the BICO in our community. There are people who have black skin, but they don't support black interest. Now, the question that people ask is, what's black interest?
Yeah.
Well, I would say this, and we can debate this, but I would say black interest is not supporting somebody whose supporters want to hang people in public spaces. I would say we can all agree with that. That's a black interest. That no matter where you at in America, you would probably say, if you black, that ain't a good idea.
Right.
Because the racists are not going to stop before they hang you and ask you who you voted for.
Yeah, right.
Right.
They're going to see you black and you a threat.
Right.
Because 75% of this country that is white does not know a black person on a friendly level. They're not friends with a black person. 75%.
Yeah.
And as you go out west, in those numbers, of course, in urban areas, is that those numbers, the vast majority of black people in America live in urban areas. And that's why and the vast majority of white people don't live in urban areas. If you start looking at where we're at demographically. And that's going to be a challenge for us, because when they were talking about that martial law and the enemy within, when they come for the Haitians, there are black people in America who might look Haitian. I'm from Ohio. Okay. The sheriffs up here crazy. They talk about writing down addresses of people. Somebody came on my yard and damaged my freaking political sign in my house.
Gee.
And the reason that I say this, and I put it up the next day, because I'm realizing that these people want to intimidate. But they're scared, because who comes and knocks down somebody? If you got a problem with my flag, come say something to me about it.
Right.
But they're cowards.
Yeah.
And they hide behind this dude who's a coward, who wouldn't even shake Kamala's hand on the debate stage.
Right.
Coward behind this little thing. And I will say this, man, that I looking back at it, I don't like Tim Waltz as a VP pick now. I don't like Tim Waltz now. He didn't add anything to the ticket, I don't think. I think he was started off good. But that debate performance that he had with JD Vance was horrible. He pretty much humanized JD Vance, Because
I just was Gary chime in and say that.
No,
yeah,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, I was sitting there watching it with the missus, and the first thing I said, this is terrible. I said, this is terrible. I said, because he's making him look like he's reasonable.
Normalizing them. Yeah.
And this isn't good. And sure enough, when you really look at the election and look at everything, no, the ticket looked normal because Waltz really made it look normal.
Yes.
Yeah. Between him and Shapiro, it was between him and Shapiro. Shapiro would have, I think he would have challenged JD Vance most definitely. You know what I'm saying? On a ticket. But I want to switch to something, more, I was thinking about, I mean, I made a Facebook post, a Facebook post, which basically said that, look, I got to start looking at people different. It doesn't mean I don't care for you. Don't mean I won't love you, but I got to start looking at you different based on how you vote, because you made an immoral decision. And I left out context to that, right? Because you did not have to vote. You could have voted. You did not have to select a president, you know what I'm saying? But you could have voted the rest of the ballot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You could have voted the rest of the ballot. So if you were a person who voted for an immoral person, well, you can't talk to me about morality. You can't talk to me. I don't want to go to your church. I don't want you to talk to me about morals. I don't want you to talk to me about character. You know what I'm saying? Because you made an immoral decision. You know what I mean? Because I got friends on Facebook who share all these Bible quotes, and God chose Trump. God ain't chose no Trump. People did. Let's stop this. Let's stop this. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna shoot it to you, JY. You know what I mean? Morality on the ballot. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel like that was a choice that people had, or how do you feel about it? Just
Well, that was on the ballot, and people can talk about abortion. They could talk about the economy. They could talk about all of those things. These are important issues, right? But what was really on the ballot was about morality, and if your morality was led properly, everything else would have came after, right? The economy, abortion. If your morality is in the right place to help others, but the problem was, again, you're talking to a group of people or people which when you go into social media spaces, nothing, when they brung up any argument or any issues or problems or defense of Trump, you never heard people lead the conversation or lead into morality. What they led into selfishness. They led into my pocket, my you know what I'm saying, like gas, like everything was surrounding around themselves. And again, when you understand the election in America, if your civic duty or your patriotic duty is always to your fellow countrymen. And people don't understand that concept when you start digging into politics and so forth. You going to the ballot is always about the protection of your fellow countrymen and your country first. Because when you lead with that, everything else starts to just fall in place. You know what I'm saying? Like when you start looking at the bills that Trump are plan on passing, the tariffs and so forth, well, it's a portion of the people in America that's going to be affected. But when you have one side that say things like, oh, it's not a big deal, well, was it really about other Americans, or was it really about just you?
Yeah. I think individualism most definitely played a part, and I've been saying this since like since the COVID situation. I think that since COVID, it has exposed that Americans are more individualistic. You know what I'm saying? and people talk community this, you know, we need to do this. And it goes back to what y'all was saying about Tim Walz and that debate. And I just realized that, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I don't think he was tuned in enough during that debate. I don't think the Democratic, you know, machine was tuned in enough to understand the individualism that played into, you know, what was going on. Even though globally, authoritarianism and fascism is taking a hold in several places, even in South Africa, you know what I'm saying? Even in, you know, even on the African continent, even in Europe. And people think, man, I got a book. Man, I can't remember the name of that book. Something about fascism in America. Anyway, but I think that you know, there's been I think that people or the Democratic machine, you know, reduces, you know, their plan was hope and idealism. You know what I'm saying? Hope and idealism. You know what I'm saying? And it brought me back to like, and the immediate thought I had was like Martin Luther King. And when Martin Luther King was like, you know, said, I led my people into a burning building.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That was this campaign. You know what I'm saying? And brought me back like, oh, okay, I understand what Martin Luther King was talking about, because this is the second time when Hillary Clinton was, I was like, man, Americans can't be that stupid. They can't be that dumb. You know what I'm saying? This time I'm like, Americans can't be that immoral. We can't be. You know what I'm saying? And then here we go. And then it's like, I think that during that time, and this is my belief, I think that Martin Luther King was like, oh man, I thought that we had allyship. I thought that we were progressing. I thought that people had our back and things of that nature. And he realized quickly, oh no, nobody got your back. You know what I'm saying? We are by ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna shoot it to you, Doc. You know what I'm saying? You know, morality on the ballot. You know what I mean? If you agree with that, or what's your thoughts on it?
So, you know, I like to think that, you know, priorities are on the ballot first.
Mm-hmm.
White supremacy is on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Eurocentric hegemony is on the ballot.
Oof.
But it was on the ballot in both cases. See, I think the idea, I don't like to make a moralistic argument to people who have no morality, because I feel it's a waste of time. It's something that that Stokely said. You know, he said that, you know, in order for nonviolence to be effective, your adversary must have a conscience. But I'm afraid that your people don't, the people you're fighting against don't have one. And so since they don't have a conscience, you trying to fight them nonviolent won't be effective. And although it might be effective, it's not a good strategy.
Right.
Now, see, to me, morality is a strategy. It's a plan. It is something that you do for power. For example, morality over time changes. Like during the Napoleonic Wars, there was no law of armed conflict. There was no international law.
Right.
They just slaughtered everybody. The Europeans just slaughtered each other until they couldn't slaughter anybody anymore. So they got tired of slaughtering each other. And it was like, let's just talk some more. And we tired, ain't nobody else to kill. That's how it was. And so the idea that morality came to keep power, critical theory is was only designed with how to get power for those who do not have it. This is critical theory. Critical theory is how to get power if I have none. Then we have to look at history and say, how have people gotten power who've had none? They've used morality. They've used moral arguments. They used higher power arguments. They've used this is not right argument. They've used justice arguments. But morality can change, because the morality will always be subjective to survival. Because you will listen, I'm telling you, you will flip sides if your life depended on you, if you have not already determined that you will not flip sides before it's time to flip sides. Your mind has to be made up. But the problem with is this: if your mind is made up before you hear an issue, you're an ideologue. If I know how I'm going to respond before you even propose a question to me, then I am not going to be able to think. I already know what I want to say. And in politics, we don't want to talk and think. We want to say what we want to say, and then say the other people are not morale. But I would say this: politics is about winning.
Right.
It's about winning. Losers don't get to determine what is or isn't moral. They don't. Winners do. And the morality has become so interesting because let's say even today, we look at issues over time, but we're so fixated on 4-year increments. I don't look at America at any 4-year period anytime. I look at America as a continuous story where morality has shifted over time. Now, it wasn't until they saw what was happening to us that they began to change policy here. Meaning, it was something that Derek Bell talked about, critical race theory, is that you have to tell people your story. Because in telling you your story, so you have David Walker, one of the first to write an appeal. You had Mary Childs. You had people thought they were sensationalizing the events of the day for the purpose of sympathy. So we fast forward 100 years, and then we see it wasn't the fact that the dogs were being sicked on black people in the water hoses. That wasn't the issue. That the Billy Club. It was that it was on TV.
Yeah,
it was on camera. We couldn't deny it was happening.
They couldn't deny it. Yeah. They
couldn't. And like so. And so, like today, when we see this election results, there are things we cannot deny about these numbers. We can pretend, we can act like we don't want to, but we have to say this. We have to say that 75% of white men in this country wanted Trump. Yeah, 3 out of every 4 wanted Trump. So if I put 4 white folks in one area and 3 in another, 3 of y'all on average will be a supporter. This concerns me.
Yeah,
and it concerns me because I feel like we're entering into a space where being two-faced is the price of doing business. I have to, in my job, I have to go up there and can't show no incitement that I know that my candidate won. Because I know the black folks is pissed the fuck. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you good. No, you good.
Hey, because I know the black folks is pissed off right now in this job. And I know I'm a Trump supporter, but I probably need to save my exuberance for the car.
Man, I experienced that.
You see what I'm saying? It's out there.
Yeah, I was about to say it same thing at my job, but I have to say, they know, like, you know, whenever they openly speak on politics, I first use the tactic of avoidance.
Okay.
And then when I feel like that they're openly just speaking their feelings, then I'm like, okay, well, since we're here, then I'm gonna tell you how I feel. And when that happens, it like they know, don't come to me. Don't come to me, because one thing about me, I don't play about my blackness.
Yeah.
Play about my blackness, and I'm gonna lay it all down. And so, you know, what they did was they were antagonizing the black lady who's a security guard. You know, walking past her and saying stuff like, "Oh, this is such a beautiful day," and that kind of stuff. And so what I said was, I said, I wonder why they ain't never come to me and say nothing. They know how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, if I gotta walk up out of this job, that's what it's gonna be. That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah. Hey man, I'll take a pause for the calls, man. Welcome, brother Kately, to
Yes,
you know
sir.
what I'm saying, podcast. Thank you, brother. Thank you, man, for tuning in.
Man.
Brother.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Man. You know, y'all got a whole bunch of, and I do want to throw out there, man. You know, Shelton Benjamin is our cousin, man. I just want to let you know.
Yeah.
No way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but
Yes, sir.
Get out of here, bro.
I've been meaning to tell you that for a hot minute, bro. But like, I'm gonna have to get in contact with my other brother, with our younger brother, who keeps in contact with him. You know what I'm saying? If you want to do that, just let me know.
Heck yeah, I want to do. I've been wanting to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, welcome, brother. Go ahead and shout out all the things you're doing, man. All the things y'all got going over there at DFPN, brother.
Oh man, appreciate you, man. So we just set up a website, and on that website we're starting to collaborate with other people. It's starting to be more of a community effort now. We are a podcast network, not exclusive to our shows anymore. We do want to feature other podcasts and get the word about podcasts out, and just make it a community and more of a media outlet now than it is just a regular group of podcasts. But we have a bunch of shows on the network now, catering to whatever you want to listen to, music, games, film, arts, comics, whatever you into, man, we got it. So go to thedfpn.com and come check us out, bro.
Yeah, man.
You got one for Black Cowboys.
yeah, brother. So just get your thoughts on, we've already talked about the temperature check where we're at, what I'm saying right now. We're discussing, morality on the ballot, but just trying to get folks thought, what I'm saying, particularly, again, we're 4 black men, what I'm saying. They try to make this, the fair on election on us, but it ain't on us, man.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
It ain't on us. We got some corralling to do, but it ain't on us. Me. But go ahead, brother. Whatever you want to contribute.
Nah, man, you right about that. Immediately where my head went is this looks a lot like 2016.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was.
It looks a lot like 2016, and rather than panic, it's kind of like a deployment. You about to go back on. It's about to suck, bro. Like, it's about to suck.
Yeah.
You know what's coming. Like it's really now just trying to plan out. Like, where do we go from here? You know what I mean? And I'm at a space to where I'm looking at the panic and I'm trying not to let that panic affect my planning. Because I know I have to plan, right? I know from here, the balance of power is going to shift, right? That's a given. People are going to be bold. It's my job to not slap them. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's my job to be calm and collected and then just build. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm looking at the panic, but I'm also trying to cool it, but bring it to a place to where we can channel that into some real change. Because that's been whether it's been on the other side of 2016 into 2020, like we still have a little bit of that anger left over from then. You know what I mean? And I think as people, right, we're starting to get to a place to where that's our way of thought. Like we're always angry. And I want to channel that to where I'm not angry, I'm in action. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I think that's where I am. It was not more or less of a surprise for me that it was going to happen because listen, I want to give Kamala Harris all the credit. You had 104 days to introduce yourself, readjust, reappear, and appeal to people that didn't really have your best interests at heart. One, they only know you for being Joe Biden's president. That's all they know you from. Right? So now you got to go from that shadow and introduce yourself as a player to the country. That's incredibly hard to do. That's incredibly hard to win with. The fact that she was even competitive speaks volumes. And two, don't blame this on black people. Don't blame this on black people. This one ain't on us, bro.
It's out there, man.
It ain't on us. If you look at the numbers, our numbers are pretty much in line with where they were in 2020.
Yeah,
like this one's not on us. But where we are now is okay. We got to figure out one, who's not with us, why they not with us, and how we get them with us. Because I think for the first time in a long time, I seen a lot of black unity, and that was incredibly motivating for me. So I want to figure out how do we build on what we built this year. You know what I mean? Because there was a real sense of pride, and among the older women in my family, this is the first time I've ever seen them feel empowered, and that was incredibly empowering for me. So I do want to build on what we have. Don't lose what we gained, but figure out how to build on that. And that's where I'm at with it.
Okay, that's good, man, because that's, again, in the prompt is chaos or community, because I immediately went there. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because I mean, it's based off of Martin Luther King's "Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community." You know what I'm saying? And Martin Luther King in there is talking about, okay, we know we have these things in front of us. You know what I mean? What do we do? You know what I'm saying? And there's part of the book where Martin Luther King is like, hey, listen, white Christians, we need y'all's allyship. There's only a small number of y'all that's gonna rock with us. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so we need y'all to understand where, first off, understand the Bible, understand your religious principles, and then we need y'all to be, kind of on our side. You know what I'm saying? And while you're on our side, talk to your folks and things. We need y'all to stay where you at. You know what I mean? Don't do this switching and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's really was like my first thought. Like, really, I was like, man, I'm gonna reread. And matter of fact, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put in the group. You know what I'm saying? And of course, I shared all that data about Black people and Black men on purpose because I started to see where the conversation was starting to shift. You know what I'm saying? And we all are from different parts of the country, and so if people from different parts of the country got information, we could share it. Be like, hey, this is not what the truth is. You know what I'm saying? You know. And so I'm gonna come to you, JY, you know what I'm saying? Going off of Brother Kately there, where are we at right now? You know what I'm saying? Where do we go?
I'm gonna speak for myself and first, hey man, I'm still stuck in chaos, man. I'm Knuck If You Buck. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still there right now.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, and I'm gonna be real. Like I'm like, man, we ain't got no allies. We ain't got no friends. All right. Now, if we know that,
It's my next
like
part.
how do we collectively get together and move everybody out the way? And we're gonna bully everybody forward. Like, how can we do that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
me and the missus, she was already online earlier today, right? And like she's already working across state lines, working with other Black women, trying to figure out, well, who got a business? Hey, what you doing over here? Hey, how can we sit back and collab and get something together and make this shape? You know what I'm saying? Like that's where I'm at. I'm still stuck in the chaos while we putting together the community. You know what I'm saying? Like, because at the end of the day, I live in the South. You know what I'm saying? I live in the South. So I always got to be on chaos.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I'll get back to the community, but I always got to be back on chaos because, it's a town that's close by. They posting on their Facebook page vague threats talking about they selling their armor armored vests because the armor plates because they're not going to need it for anything and so forth. Like, yeah, man, that's only a town over.
Man.
So, that's where I'm at. And in the meantime, we're gonna be sitting here focused on building a community.
Yeah. And so Doc, I'm gonna come to you because I saw reports piggybacking off what JY said. Saw reports that after Trump got elected, there were Black people in certain communities who got emails and they got text threats that you're gonna go back to the cotton field now that Trump's elected. You're gonna go back to, we're gonna make you slaves. And the question is how do you get these people's names and numbers, without accessing their voter records? You know what I'm saying? Who's giving out this information? You know what I'm saying? So there was people in Virginia and different states, you know what I'm saying? Again, this is one of these things that's not widely that people know.
So
Go ahead, Doc.
I think like a military man. Because I think strategy first, and I think emotion second. I need a strategy. I don't care about how you feel. What's my strategy? Because I know certain things that are axiomatically true. In order to fight anything, you need to be organized, trained, and equipped. If you don't have all three of those, you're gonna fail. You need all three, because if you only have two of the three, you can be equipped and organized, but without any training, somebody with some training will come and eat your lunch for you. And you can use those three and just take one out, And there's one that we've never had in concert, because knowledge is evolutionary. See, what we have to remember is that everybody don't stay in the community. You need people in your community who don't live in your community to warn the community about threats before it comes to the community. This is called anticipation. You need a sensor system outside of your community, because if the threat comes to your door, it's too late. It's too late. So we need early warnings in our system. You know, as a doctor in our community, what early warning is education. Education is early warning. In a few weeks, or maybe a week or so, I'm doing a class on critical race theory, because I know this administration is going to come after critical race theory, because critical race theory is problematic to white supremacy.
Yes, sir.
It's problematic because they can't respond to it intellectually, because our arguments are unassailable. There is no defense against them, and they know that. And the only way they can stop it is with legislation. So I'd say the first thing in organization is there was a conversation that came up during this election is Kamala Harris black or white? Now, I will just submit to you all, racists have figured this out. It took black people some time to get there, but racists already knew the answer. See, if the racists know what she is, why are you confused? The racists say she black, go with them. They ain't really good at telling you who is or isn't black. Just believe them. And so as a community, what we have to start doing is not just policing each other. Because see, what happens is this. As a social media strategy, you have a friend, his name is Herman, I think. Herman something. I don't know. He'll say something that's ignorant to one of my posts that I think is ignorant. And I won't respond back to him. I'll just respond back to somebody else who said something about the ignorant post. Because if I dignify his ignorance with my intelligence, it's going to make him look smarter than he needs to be. And that's going to give him credibility, because I don't have time for distractions.
Right.
If you are a distraction in our community, go home. Lead me, follow me, or get the fuck out the way. Lead me, follow me, or get out my way. Because I am not in the community. I'm outside the community for y'all. I'm outside the community, so that when the threats are coming, I'm like, look, in academia right now, there's this theory that's coming down the pipeline. They're using game theory against us right now. And in game theory, we don't know what the dominant strategy is. Because if I'm playing a game where there's infinite players, we don't know the outcome, we don't know who the friends are, we don't know who our enemies are, what is the dominant strategy in that game? Just think about it. I'm playing a game. I don't know who my enemies are. I don't know who my friends are. I don't know what the objectives are. I don't know what the outcomes are. So what would be the best strategy to use? It's a question.
Friending each one of them.
You're saying cooperation?
Yeah.
Say cooperation.
Yeah.
If possible. Now, let's say, for example, they don't want to cooperate with you. What would be the next strategy? Well, if nobody wants to cooperate with you, what's the next best strategy?
Influence.
Okay. Now you can't influence anybody. What's the next strategy?
Oh, dang. I'm done.
So the reason that I say this is because the dominant strategy in an infinite game is to constantly improve yourself. Don't constantly improve you. If you constantly improve yourself every day, you will be more influential. If you constantly improve yourself, you'll learn how to cooperate with people who seem uncooperative, because you have to improve you. We can't improve the community without improving ourselves. Your improvement improves the community, because now I can now say, listen, we need to start right now. So in the next 4 years, when they start to bring up these arguments about a black person's intelligence, we can just say that's being racist. Because there's a history of this country of attacking the intelligence of black people for the purpose of white supremacy. We know that. So when you're black and you're participating in that activity, then I will say this to you all as a strategy: no one is racist anymore. Only ideas are. People aren't anymore. Only the ideas are. Either you support the racist idea or you do not support the racist idea. So when I say and call you out, I'm calling out the racist idea that you're supporting. I'm not calling out you personally. People like to get personal about racism. It's like, no, the idea that you have is a racist idea, and you may not be aware of it. You may have just inherited that from your grandmama, or grandma, and you don't know, but you're gonna learn today.
Yeah.
Because I am going to learn, I'm going to educate you outside the community. So when you come to our community with that foolishness, you need to know better.
And on that point, Doc, so this is my next, the next prompt. You know what I'm saying? Somebody lied.
Oh, yes.
Listen, listen to me.
Oh, yeah.
Look, so a conversation, me and JY had. I said, look, in 2016, I was like, all right, man, I'm not gonna listen to the polls, but I'm not gonna trust the polls. I'll listen to the polls. You know what I mean? And in this year, in 2020, I was like, I'm not listening to the polls at all. 2024, I had hope in the polls. I'm like, oh man, hey, these polls saying we got allies. But them numbers said there was some people who said stuff different, and they went in there pushing different, brother. Go ahead, brother Caleb. Go ahead.
Bro, those exit polls let me know everything I needed to know about what was about to happen. When they came out and it was like, these are just numbers. I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Prepare your spirit. Tonight's about to be real bad. It's gonna be real bad. But yeah, man, it's like I did the same thing. I tried not to pay attention to the polls and then just look at the atmosphere, right? What was the atmosphere telling me? And for the longest time, it would up until Kamala Harris won, the atmosphere just wasn't good. It just wasn't. Trump came out, him and Biden had that debate. It was not good.
Yeah.
Like it was bad, but it started to pick up a little bit once Kamala Harris was the nominee. The thing is, it happened too late in the race, man. It really did. If it would have happened earlier and she was given more time, I think she would have carried it.
Yeah.
Regardless of who's in that spot. I don't think anybody else would have done as good as she did. But the fact that she was able to at least raise a tide up in that amount of time, it just happened too late, man. But my whole thing was the polls weren't looking good for Trump, but you can't really trust that, bro. You can't.
No, man.
You can't really trust. Once people start, the economy is a cover for me.
Yeah, it is.
It's a cover, right? Because you can easily go back to the pandemic. The pandemic had a huge impact on the economy. It had a huge impact on trade. You can go back to a whole litany of reasons, whether it was tariffs, and if you're going to go back tariffs, I say just hold out till 2030. Whoever you are, whatever candidate you are, wait until 2030. Because listen, if the tariffs are back on, the economy is going to be terrible. Just give it time. Just give it time and let them cook, right? And it'll show you everything that you need to know. But in the meantime, come up with a game plan. You know what I mean? Come up with something tangible that you can offer the people that you know are about to struggle. Look at who is going to hit. Look at what it's going to do, and figure a plan to counter that. That's item number one. Just watch and plan off what you're watching. Right. And then come to the table with whoever's impacted by what this is going to do. Offer them something. Offer them something that they can latch on to. Whatever color they are, whatever they believe, you best believe people about to be hurting. So come up with a plan to help the people that's about to be hurting, because it's coming.
Yeah, what's my man down Louisiana? Gary
Chambers.
Yeah. Gary Chambers, right?
Yeah.
Like, he put out a strategy, and it makes the most logical sense because he's using math. He's using simple math. 55% of Black population lives in the South. Why would you spend so much money in Ohio? You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't make sense. But then when you hear that, you realize the same problem that you have in the Democrat Party is the same white structure that we're fighting against in the Republican Party. In some of these places. Yep. Like that is the problem, which now is showing up as Joe Biden administration and campaign is now openly arguing with Kamala Harris campaign, telling her that she ran a terrible campaign.
No.
This is that white structure that you have a issue with in the Democrat Party, that they don't even know where their base is.
Yeah, right.
That they keep thinking that the suburban woman is their base. And she keeps just sitting back stabbing them in the back. She do whatever she want to do.
Yeah, no, and I think it goes back to honestly go back to like Obama, like it really, there was this belief that these Obama Republicans in 2020 in 2008 who voted for Obama, like they existed in 2012 and they existed in 2016. By 2016 they switched, they were Trump voters. Like what are we doing? What are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Why are you spending so much money trying to convince a group, you know what I mean, to, and again, it was like, I think part of it was a messaging. Oh, Donald Trump is terrible, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't recognize that people care about domestic issues. You know what I'm saying? Tell me, how am I going to get food on my table? Tell me how I'm going to, you know what I mean? Tell me how I'm going to be able to afford these things. You know what I'm saying? Even though Kamala Harris put out a whole agenda about, how she was going to, get young people to afford homes, young people to be encouraged to have children. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's going on right now. White folks in this country or globally, Europeans are not having children. Even over in Asian countries, in China, Japan, they're not having children. So a lot of these, the authoritarianism that's happening globally is because, people aren't having children and immigrants are coming into these countries. And guess who's having children? Guess the continent that's having the most children. Africa.
Yep.
And so you're seeing these immigrants coming in, or African immigrants or Central American immigrants coming into this country. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're looking at. You know what I'm saying? That's what a lot of the abortion, laws are on the heels of. But, at the same time, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the context to these polls are not being explain. Our news media is terrible, you know what I'm saying? And so, to Brother Kately there, running a podcast network, we got to do more things like this. You know what I'm saying? We got to be more, we have to have a more, a bigger voice. You know what I mean? I'm jumping a prompt here, but like, we got to have like a bigger voice. And one of those things that I'm going to do is I'm going to have like a book club. We're going to read Chaos or Community, David Walker's Appeal. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Dr. Ham is going to do, DEI. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to shrink. We got to shrink back into the community. We have to shrink back because at the end of the day, we ain't got no allies. You know what I'm saying? And that's what,
I think part of the issue that we ran into, and this is something that I think as Black people we have to remember, is that we're looking for a president of all the people, not the president of Black America.
Yeah.
And we want a president of everybody, potentially. The issue that I thought they ran into, I don't like to be pandered to. I don't like paternalism, because paternalism is a legacy of racial issues. It's where one white person thinks that they can speak on behalf of 40 million Black people. It's the arrogance. It's the gall to think you know us because you have a proximity to us. It's like, no, you don't. And we have multiple interests in our community. The Southern interest is different. Like as a Black person in the North, I vote for a Black person in the South, Democratic, because I know it'll help you out more than it'll help me. Because you're gonna experience white supremacy different than I'm experiencing it. You see what I'm saying? So I'm understanding that there's a shared interest in my voting for you down there, not just me up here. Because I understand that when they done persecuting you, guess what they're coming after? They're coming after me. So I need to help you with what's happening now. But to your larger point, I didn't like the pandering. I don't like this idea of having a plan for Black people. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. If you want to have a plan for Black people, that's one thing. but don't talk about it in the last couple weeks before the election. It's a distraction.
Yeah.
It's a distraction, and you're going to lose white support because white people don't want plans for black people. And let's just be honest. Mm-hmm. And we ain't going to go nowhere as a community until we start telling each other the truth. We got to be honest and say that you will not be elected the presidency of this country in its current format if you have a plan and it specifically has something for black people. You just won't win.
During the Obama years, I don't mean to cut you off, Doc, but I said it during the Obama years, and I remember Obama was talking to Charlamagne the God and DJ Envy, and he said the same thing. Like,
yes, I can't do it.
I can't do it. Like,
he knew that.
There's no way. Like, exactly, and it's like,
but I appreciate that honesty.
Yeah. Can we stick a pin in that point and like really have a conversation around the whole pandering thing, right?
Yeah.
Because my view is we allow the Republican Party to pander to hit their group all day long.
Yes.
And yet I have heard so many black people when Kamala Harris came up with a plan or Joe Biden, wanted to focus a policy to help black people in a in healthcare and it was so many black people that was coming out was like, oh, he's pandering. I'm like, well, why don't we have an issue with that, or why white people don't have an issue with that on the other side?
I mean, Trump was pandering.
Yeah, I think part of the challenge though is that historically we have a policy in this country of benign neglect to black people.
I agree.
In the end of the 1960s said, hey, listen, the problem that the Kerner Commission identified this. They said the problem that we're having in the black community is we keep promising them stuff and telling them things and we ain't giving it to them. So let's just stop promising them stuff and telling them things. And not no more.
Right.
So,
hey, the administration was like, oh, the Nixon administration was like, oh, no. So off the heels of the Kerner report, the Nixon administration is like, black capitalism this, black capitalism that. Yeah. You get Jim Brown going out telling black people to vote for Nixon. You get who's the best? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, go vote for Jim. You got all these black people, these black men, Jackie Robinson. Hey, go vote for Nixon. Go vote for Nixon. And then Nixon was like, "Yeah, I ain't giving y'all nothing."
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with the pandering. Just so we're clear, the pandering isn't the problem to me. The problem is it's paternalistic pandering.
Paternalistic, and I think
it's paternalistic because he
showed up amongst black men, and it's gonna be. It's gonna be the next problem.
It offends people when you tell them who you're not a part of their community how they should be doing in their community. Like I don't go to a white country club and tell them how they running the operation.
But and not to cut you off. Go ahead, Jaywa.
No, I was going to say so a lot of the points that you guys are bringing up, man, valid. And literally on point, right? Because that's how it's playing out. But I think what happens in the conversation is you have people, and you watch our Facebook group a lot of times. You have those people like Ronnie be the representation of that comment, and when someone says something about pandering, even though everything that was said historically is valid, but then you have someone who do not know the context of that and he's repeating it becomes the problem
over and over
again.
And it's not just Ronnie, it's the barbershops. You go
to barbershops,
the red pill community. It is
the brother that just got out of jail. You know what I'm saying? Like it's this kind of thing that end up happening in our community. That although those are trying to explain something with educational context, that the ones who, and I'm going to say like me, because I came from that space before I picked up anything to sit back and figure out how it worked, how things went, what was the history, and so forth, man, I was into conspiracy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was a light bulb that came on that you have to be a fool to literally hear a conspiracy and then go repeat the conspiracy, and you haven't picked up a book, you haven't looked at history, you haven't tied any other information to the information that you just heard. That is the danger that we keep hearing, and literally was expressing through the whole Trump administration, and also through this campaign, was those who did not pick up anything to read were saying the words like, oh, the pandering, oh, well, this is an issue. I just think personally, saying that, and I'm glad that you guys gave context to it, because again, the context was always missing.
Yeah.
To that. Because we knew Joe Biden shouldn't have been up there saying nothing like, you know what I'm saying, towards the black community and so forth. Like he was going to give us something, knowing that he doesn't have the legislative power to do so.
Exactly.
We know that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We know that Kamala Harris sitting here saying that she wants to pass, this for black men and so forth. She has to have Congress. She has to have the legislative power to back her to do that.
Right.
So it's no need for you saying that. But even when the black men that they had, the group that she met with, they were asking her the same question. And basically, how was she going to talk to black men, and how was she going to help black men and so forth? And nobody corrected them that she's only the president. She can't do it. She needs Congress. So why are you talking to her? Go talk to your member. And I think like that right there has to start being the conversation.
And then to the larger point, it wasn't supposed to matter in this country who the president was, because presidents weren't supposed to give out nothing anyway. They were supposed to just make sure the laws are faithfully executed. I mean, this all like the president has no economic role in the Constitution. The president has nothing to do with economic policy. And so we have created this idea of an ideologue. We've demagogued the position of president. We've made it over time and slow usurpations. The War Powers Act in 73, where Congress can go to war without. We've slowly chipped away the checks and balances. And now the Supreme Court,
George Bush,
the military commissions, War Powers Act, the Patriot Act. So we chipped away slow provisions. And now the dude talking about the 1798 Alien Seditions Act. And I'm saying, listen, bro, if you don't know what black people was doing in America in 1798, get a book. Because if you keep thinking about 1798, ask yourself, what was you doing in 1798 and your people here? It wasn't nothing about freedom.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned that our fellow black conservatives, didn't say Republican, I said conservative for a reason, that they're short-sighted. Because when they realize that the white supremacists no longer need them anymore, they have been useful chaffed, they're going to come running back to us. And we're going to look at them. Now, we some forgiving people, I will say this. I don't know if it's to a fault. We are some of the most forgiving people on the planet. I swear.
Hey,
we're gonna forgive you if you killed your mama. We're gonna be like, okay, Jesus said to take the wheel. And I'm saying, listen.
Hey, we've been inviting folk to the politics,
bro. And I will say this, and
all kinds of stuff, bro. Like, hey, hold up,
give it to God. Just give it to God. Come on, bro.
And you know how you know my religious take, bro. I say, listen, I don't care what your faith is, I don't know what you pray to, where you pray at, if you pray at all. I say we have a common enemy in this country, an objective. And the one thing that slavery and enslavement had never taught black people how to do in this country is to say, you are my fucking enemy. You are my enemy. You are my opposition. You are my adversary. I oppose you, what you stand for, what you believe, and I will oppose it with my life and my blood if I have to. You are my enemy here. And see, we are afraid to say that because it's a revolutionary statement.
Right.
Revolutionary to write down on a piece of paper what I'm gonna die for and then give it to my enemy.
That makes you more enemies.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Doc, and I'm gonna come to you, brother Kaylee, here on that. Is that, I think that one of the things that as Black people we got to get rid of colorblind rhetoric. You know what I mean? We got to get rid of the rhetoric where we take the lenses off, man. You know what I'm saying? And see America for what it is. You know what I'm saying? See the people. That don't mean that you got to hate these folks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It just means that you have to see these folks for who they are. You know what I'm saying? And whether and if who they are is a danger to you. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thoughts. But brother Kate, go ahead and share what you want to on this.
No. I wanted to follow the Black conservative thing because I actually had a conversation with a Black conservative on the election, and they were happy about it. You know what I mean? They were happy with the outcome. Thanks. And my question was, okay, you seen what his presidency was, you seen the potential for what it can be. What led you here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how did we get here?
Make it make sense.
Yeah, make this make sense to me. But their whole thing was the economy, and I'm like, I'm Black. Is the economy really working for me? Can I really say that? And if I can't say that, how can you say that? From my range, we're kind of in the same boat. I don't care how much money I make. The economy is not meant for me at this present moment. I may get lucky every now and then, but this economy really ain't for me, bro. I can't take advantage of it like my white counterpart can. I'm pretty sure you can't either. So make this make sense. The economy, immigration, and you're in Ohio. How does the southern border matter to you? You know what I mean? Like, these are questions I ask my, like, how does this matter to you? How does this affect how you are going to live? You know what I mean? What message did Trump give you that you actually paid attention to? And the things I got is pretty much a cookie cutter conversation that you're gonna have. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll tell you what you got. Oh, you ain't nothing but a liberal. I'm gonna drink your liberal tears.
That and it's like I'm really trying to get information, bro. Because you know what I mean? Like, I even put up a post, totally respectful, right? And I could tell what side someone's on by the response to that post. You know what I'm saying? It's like some people just want to see you hurt. And I'm like, okay, that's how you voted. You voted off emotion. You didn't pay attention to policy. You didn't pay attention to nothing. You felt like this is your echo chamber. I want my country back. Vote. You know what I mean? And it's like, come on, bro. When are we going to get to a position to where we pay attention to policy and what somebody didn't do? Because that's the argument.
Yeah.
They didn't do this. The economy is this. I feel this way, so I'm going to vote this way. Like, when are we going to get out of that cycle? We're
not going to get out of that cycle until white people let go of whiteness. Like, that's just a fact, you know.
But that speaks to the slavery part, right? Because the power's always been there, and as long as the 13th Amendment is the 13th Amendment,
it's true.
It's gonna stay that way. You know what I mean? That interpretation is pretty powerful to someone that ain't Black or that can't take advantage of the system. So that's another part we got to figure out. And then the religion part is, I'm gonna say something that's completely crazy. I'm gonna say something that's completely crazy, but I thought about it, right? So there's an idea that the woman running the church is a bad idea. And there may be a background thought in a lot of people's heads that a woman isn't supposed to run the country. And I think if you stay in that mindset, because I've seen it, if you stay in that mindset, you're going to keep missing the bus. I think we did miss a bus this year because a lot of people felt that way.
No, you're right, man. There's a certain Bible verse that people, especially down south, they misquote and they misunderstand. You know what I'm saying? I can't remember the Bible verse, but there's something about women being in the pulpit. You know what I'm saying? That they misquote, misunderstand again because they're not reading King James Version before 1985. They're reading NIVs and stuff out here. You know what I'm talking about? NIVs that are that misinterpret, that don't even try to interpret Greek, don't even try to interpret Aramaic, and they just go off the King James Version. You know.
But even in the King James Version, if you were really paying attention in the Bible, right, when they were telling the story when Jesus rose and he told the two ladies to go tell everyone that he has risen, right? That right there should have told you that he gave the leadership to them to spread the message. That's what should have manifest.
Yeah.
Divide and conquer is probably the Napoleonic strategy has become so pervasive today, because I don't think this idea of salvation has become so abstract in our world that we don't really know what it means anymore. And I think that this idea that I'm not here to save you from you. You because we're all in a quicksand in a sense, and we live in a country where the majority of people can take away our rights on a whim. And I think that when you live in an environment where your rights are precarious, you find yourself like the sword of Damocles. It always hangs over your head. And you have to just wake up and say, man, I hope the majority of these people in this country haven't decided I need to go back in time. Like they think I should. And so what America needs, if I were to assess, if I were to give an analysis of what America needs a story. But not just any kind of story. It needs a story that can only be told by people who know the story. The whole story. Like, no sugarcoating it. Because if you tell our story succinctly, then I can tell my about to be 11-year-old black daughter who almost saw a black female become president that I would have never dreamed in my life that a black woman would even be in this position. I wouldn't tell her that in 08 when Obama won, I was even shocked then. I was actually surprised Obama won in 08. So I wasn't one of those people. I was like, ain't no way we gonna put a black man in presidency in this white.
No, that's a fact.
So our capacity to understand that not only does our progress take time, that it is also painful progress. It's painful, and for people in this country who don't know what it's like to have a result of one election change the comfort and the peace that you have in your country among your kinfolks does. Like, they don't understand that concept because they're still white here, no matter who wins. That's why when I was so upset, I think my biggest frustration came when no one could explain January 6th to me. No one could explain it. Like, oh, we don't know what happened. It just was some. And it was so frustrating to me. Because I'm like, I know what happened. You may not know, but I'm aware.
We know what happened.
I know what happened, sir. What happened? Eyes, and they work fine. But I will say that this idea that you're going to want to join the winning team, and the winning team has the winning ideas. And the ideas that are espoused by certain individuals that you cannot say at your job, because if you were to question your coworkers' competency and their mental faculty and abilities, you wouldn't be having that job too much longer. But now it's like, I want someone to be bigoted for me. It's like e pluribus unum means out of many one, but we never ask the question of what is the one equal. The one. What is he? Like, what is that one?
Yeah.
There's one racist. I mean, what is the one?
Yeah.
And when we figure out who that one is, and I would say that not only is it flipping at times, but there are times when we will shock ourselves. When we'll go so far to the left, we have to correct to the right. Because this country was getting changed too quickly. They had that black Little Mermaid, and them white, and they saw the joy in them little black girls' faces when they saw a black Little Mermaid. They was like, "Oh hell no!"
Y'all got black fish running around here.
They wanted to kill this.
It was like there will be no black joy on my watch.
Hey, not to cut you all down, but I remember when the Cheerios commercial came out. This is like 2009 or so, and there was a black dad, a white mom. The child was biracial. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, they lost their mind. They were like, oh, my Honey Nut Cheerios will.
Man, listen. Listen. What happened? What I saw is with Star Wars. Boy, Star Wars fans lost their brain.
Oh, they got
When you had the black guy as the lead.
Yeah.
Oh
man, bro. Yeah. They went crazy.
Bro. That was
iconography and supremacy work hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because I have to continually and perpetually show you the white image in superior positions because that reinforces my mediocrity. But see, what I look at is we are about to watch happen, and most people who have no historical context won't see this, but we're about to watch how white history is white-splained in real time. How they take, so they're going to pardon all the insurrectionists, and they're going to create probably a national day of commemorants, and they're probably going to have a reunion at the freaking Capitol. A reunion.
The modern revolution, bro. It's the modern revolution.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But we're seeing this happen in real time. And my thought process is like, listen, as soon as you pardon insurrectionists for breaching the peace and national security of this country, then it becomes a political tool for your adversaries. And now that your pardon power is unquestioned, then it becomes, I will do political violence for him because I know he likes that.
Yeah.
He likes when I do violence for him, and he will support me getting out of jail. And so what does that breed?
Yeah, he already said he's gonna pardon him.
Yeah. And what does that breed though? Now it breeds a society of lawlessness. Because if they don't have to follow the law, then why do I gotta follow it?
Yeah.
But I know if I break the law, I'm getting football year terms.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, you can't even rap wrong, bro. If you rap wrong, FBI is coming after you.
But America, but whiteness in America is being forced to deal with something it's never had to do before in its history here. 250-year history, it has never had to publicly defend itself to black criticism. Let me say that one more time. White people have never had to explain themselves to black criticism in this country, and they have no training to do so.
And that's what's happening right now, because I see a lot of, I watch a lot of white leftists, you know what I'm saying? I pay attention to it, and they're like, whoa, hey, look, we don't know what happened with white women or white men, and we don't know what happened with this group, and they really trying to explain it, and they're like,
nobody know nothing.
They don't know anything. But I'm gonna say this, man. My whole for this prompt. So I was reading David Walker's appeal, right? And in David Walker's appeal, you know what I mean? There's this newspaper clipping that happens. Of course, David Walker's appeal was written in 1829. I want to put that out there. It was written in 1829, and so in David Walker's appeal, he put this newspaper clipping, and in the newspaper clipping, it says that there are at this time there was, I can't remember what page it is, Doc, if you want to turn to it. So he put a newspaper clipping, and in this newspaper clipping, it says a black man went and bought 16 black people. There's 3 of them that are driving a stagecoach. They're driving the stagecoach with the black people. You know what I'm saying? So something happens where the black people are, where a group of the black people get free. They get free, and they beat the death out of 2 of the black people, and one of the black persons, they beat them till they're almost dead. But what happens is, they beat them till they're dead, and they escape. one of the black persons put the black person on a horse. You know what I mean? I'm just saying persons right now. You know, go read the story. But one of the black persons put the black person on a horse. That black person goes and rides to a plantation. Tell them what happened. And then the folks on the plantation get other people from other plantations, go ride out. They get a cavalry together, and they get a posse together, and they go capture other 16, go capture all 16 black people. You know what I'm saying? So my reason for the prompt, and after this election, you know what I'm saying? And, not just this election, but over these last 4 years, you know what I'm saying? I got to know which black person, I got to know who's putting who on the horse. I got to know who's on that horse. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? And when I say I can't save all black people, not only does this go back to Denmark Vesey, you know what I'm saying? Denmark Vesey has a big plan to free all peoples in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. But it was a enslaved person who goes and tells a freed black person about the plan. After they hear it, that black person goes and tells the white governor. The white governor goes then and tell other white people, and they're like, "Oh no, this ain't gonna happen." Then the trials happen. They capture all the black. You know what I'm saying? I gotta know where black people's loyalties lie. You know what I'm saying?
Nowadays, they'll tell you.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Because it's just a conversation that we probably should talk about. Like it's like Killer Mike, 50 Cent. Like if you listen to them long enough, they told you,
right?
But you have to listen to them long enough to understand that they were already ready to sell the rest of the black people out. They were already ready.
Ready, man.
Because they were in a position that they were ready to be the slave owner.
They were on a horse riding to the plantation.
Yeah. Like and people have to understand that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a reason why Busta Rhymes get on stage during the pandemic and tell you not to protect yourself. You know what I'm saying? From a deadly virus.
When black people were dying.
And his tickets at the show was starting at $150 a pop during a pandemic. You know what I'm saying? When the economy was turning the opposite way. Like it's a reason but again, if you listen to them long enough, they told you where they're at.
Yeah. And that discernment or critical thinking it can accelerate the time you need to listen. You can accelerate the time frame because now I can extrapolate. I can find out what I don't know using what I do know, using that abductive reasoning and along with deducing. Because one thing I will say that we've never been taught here in black people is how to reason. Reason, like reasoning amongst each other. Like us four right now have to be reasonable right now. In the event that one of us becomes unreasonable, the other three of us should let that person know. Right. We should say, "Hey, my brethren, I just met you right now, but that wasn't reasonable what you said." Now let me tell you why I say that. Because if you start to get subjective with people, what they will do is they will retreat into idealism. They will retreat. In order for people to expose their underbelly to you, they must feel you're not a threat to them, which is why fear politics was so successful this time, because fear is so pervasive to a country that, and my history thing is that we don't really tell people how big of a fear black people were to white people in this country. Like we don't explain it, how it really materialized. Like literally the sight of a black person in a white area would cause a panic, an alarm. It would be cause for concern. Either you're an escape, you're a runaway, you're here to rape white women, or you're an animal, you're a mongrel, you're a beast, and you need to be tamed, shot, killed, whipped, controlled on the plantation at all times, and we need to know where you are at. And we built social systems to control you. And when you leave out of your area, we will put you back in there.
Mhm.
And we have a system of policing in America that was built off of brutality that you still practice to this day. All that being aside is this. I talk to people who don't want to self-identify because they want to play in both camps. They want to be black when it's advantageous, and then they want to be white in white spaces.
Yikes.
Now, I never learned how to code switch. It's a new thing I just learned about. So seriously, apparently this is this thing when people are around white people, they talk differently than they are around other people. See, I just never thought that way. I'm gonna say how I feel about who around. That's how I think.
Right.
And so, because I'm authentic, and authentic people don't have to wear a mask because this is who I am. I'm unapologetic. I said, listen, when they open up the Trump re-education camps, I want to be the first one to go. I'm like, let's go, because they ain't teaching me nothing, because I understand what their system is designed to do. It's designed, and what fascism does is first is they fascinate the fools and then they muzzle the intellects. You astonish the foolish people and say, "Oh, look at all that! He's promising me season breakthrough harvest." But to your larger point, I will say that, and we've been talking for, I think we did these first casts maybe a couple years ago. But one thing I will tell you is this: what we're seeing is the intersection or interests converging that has never had to converge before, which is why politics makes strange bedfellows. Like, these are the black people who will murder you and massacre you. We have to remember that it was black people who came to get Emmett Till. We have to remember that. The black people came to get him out that house. It wasn't just white folks. Do you think those white folks who went to that black area by themselves? No. We had black folks who carried them there. So the people who will lead you to your demise will be the black folks. And let me tell you, one of the things that I see is that there is a difference between organizations of the past and organizations of today. There have been black organizations that were created in a time when we were enslaved, but they never updated from us not being enslaved anymore. And the traditions and their history is still rooted in servitude and servility and docility. And that's okay, because they were the cupbearers. The story of Nehemiah is very important, because in order to get power, you have to be close to it. You have to see how it works. The cupbearer to the king is one of the most dangerous positions to have, because you have to drink before the king drinks. And if the drink is poisoned, you would die first. But the king would have to trust that the cupbearer would not poison his cup.
Right.
And in America, that's the black people who are loyal to white supremacy. They won't poison the cup. No matter, they won't poison the cup. Actually, they will risk their lives to protect the cup more than any white person will to protect white supremacy.
And they know that.
And they know that. And when we conceptualize, they will infiltrate our spaces for the purpose of division. And when we see them doing it, we have to call them what they are. You're an infiltrator, you're a spy, and you are trying to do espionage and stop cohesive in our group. And if you want to be divisible, that's fine. Just isn't the space for it. You ain't welcome here to do that. And so when we say you're not welcome here, then we have to enforce it. And what we do as a community is, I won't enforce it either. And if you say he ain't no good, guess what I say?
They're not like us.
He ain't like us. And you didn't make the standard. You didn't make the standard. No, I didn't make the standard. I'm just enforcing it. And then we have the flexibility to say, you know what? That because we're not a monolithic community, we don't all think the same. Right. But let me tell you what we'll do is we'll have a activation button. When anytime anybody who ain't a part of our group speaks on behalf of our group, we're gonna do what the Puerto Ricans did when they talked about Puerto Rico. You notice how when they made them joke about Puerto Rico, didn't know Puerto Ricans come out and say, "Oh, we are garbage island. I guess we got it." No, they was pissed. Pissed, and we need to get pissed too. But we don't get pissed because we understand that if we get pissed, what it does is it's a frustration without a vent. And anytime you are frustrated and don't have a vent, you're gonna overheat. And you become emotional. And I think that we have to create forums like this is very powerful because we have to say, listen, I'm not here to gatekeep anybody's community. I'm not here to gatekeep anybody. Anybody who want to come in a black space, because we're welcoming people. And the reason that we're so welcoming is because we can deal with ideas that we don't initially agree with because we understand how to collaborate with ideas in order to make them better.
Yeah.
We understand that Tay and Jay have a great idea, but when they run it by somebody else, they can see the blind spot that they can't see because they're only looking at it from this angle. So now I can see it from a 12 o'clock view, third eye view. And then what's your name again, brethren?
Kelvin.
So when Calvin looks at it, we all looked at it. But because we were so close, now he looks at it in his stage and he says, you know what? But what about this? And we were like, you know what? We didn't even think about that because we were so busy focusing on the tactical part. Calvin was looking, you look at the strategic part. He was looking at the big picture. And see, what I've learned is that the strategic thinkers in our community also become the tactical operators. But you can't do that. The strategic people cannot be the tactical operators because they'll be worn out.
Yeah.
Because you can't operate at the tactical level and the strategic level because you'll make decisions at the tactical level that will hurt you strategically. And that's the reason that I say cannon fodder is I've been using that word is because a lot of these Trump supporters are cannon fodder. They will be cannon fodder. He doesn't care about these people. He doesn't care nothing about their lives. All he knows is if you can help me do what I need to do, I'll help you. Right. And that type of cooperation is crazy because there's only two ways to get to the top of any pyramid. I can get through it by competence and dominance. And if I get to the top by using dominance, I can't use competence when I get there. And if I get to the top by competence, and if I have to use dominance, then people will understand that it's not in my character. And that's why bad people tend to rise to the top of organizations. They don't care about morality. They don't care about stepping on people. They don't care about anything. They will throw their children down the steps if it means they can get to success. Because they're so focused on doing it that they don't see that, wait a minute, if I get to the top of this hill and no one is here with me, what difference does it make?
Right.
JY, it seemed like you wanted to say something.
It was a point. I actually end up forgetting where I was going with that. So
okay, my bad. Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, man. And so, man, fellas, I appreciate the conversation, man.
That's what it was. I'm sorry, bro. To the point of the Puerto Ricans, they were mad until they had to go into to check that box. So they really wasn't mad enough.
Not mad enough.
You know what I'm saying? Like they still wanted to be, well, you know what? I'm mad that you said that, Donald. But me standing next to you.
Yeah.
I'm not checking the black box, I'm checking the white one.
Yeah.
But that's
they
the
keep
thing.
Calling me POC. I'm not a POC.
That's the thing, though. Like they've been convinced that since they are here legally, like they have to protect that. That's what they're doing. They're like, well, they called us this, but we did everything the right way. What is the right way? Right. And who determined that this was the right way? Because if you had to go through a whole process, America is the process. And no one knows that more than black people.
Facts.
So whatever your argument is, like we do need to get to a ground to where we are identifying even our own people, man, like who's for us. We do need to define that. And we need to be unapologetic with our own people too.
Facts, man. I made that same argument in the barbershop like 2 weeks ago. I said we have to start holding our people accountable, particularly black men. You know what I'm saying? And my context around that was like, hey, I understand why black men don't want to hold other black men accountable. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what this black man gonna do. You don't know what he got on him or whatever. Right. But I was like, but you cannot be afraid to talk to that man as your brother. You know what I'm saying? I was like, when they say something wrong, we got to be able to say, hey, I understand where you're coming from, brother, but here are the facts on those things. You know what I mean? One of the conversations that we were having was the quote unquote Joe Biden crime bill. You know what I'm saying? And I was educating these brothers, like, you know, like, hey, I hear y'all talking about the crime bill. But who wanted that crime bill now? Like, who wanted that crime bill? And they were like, I don't know. It was black people that wanted that crime bill. Like, let's just keep it a buck. And I was like, let's understand the context of that crime bill, of why these people wanted the crime bill. They were first, second generation migrants from.
Ain't nobody talking about that crime bill, concerned about that crime bill. They're only concerned about a talking point that they can use to besmirch. And so look,
exactly.
You have no time for irrelevant arguments.
And Doc, and I agree. And that's where, like, you know, where the previous prompt was like,
let it go, Doc. Just let it go.
That's a rabbit hole, bro. That's a rabbit hole, though.
Rabbit hole.
But you know what? Hey, I'm retired, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm retired and I got free time. And I will tell you one thing is this. What you see is this. If most people aren't thinking, if you be honest, what they're doing is someone else is thinking for them, and then they're regurgitating a talking point that they've heard.
You've done zero research.
Yeah. They ain't looked nothing up. They ain't fact checked nothing. They're just telling you. Now, see, but because I do research, I know who made that argument they're telling me right now.
Yeah.
I know why he made that argument. I know when he made that argument. I know the purpose of the argument, and I know why you're trying to bring it up now. Since I already know that, I can presuppose your next argument before you make it.
Right.
And I'm gonna meet you at a place, because if you want to move the goalpost, I'll kick it from where you want to move it from. Because
what about the border wall?
See, listen. Oh God, let me. Okay, all right, bro, listen. Listen,
Democrats letting the migrants in.
Bro, listen. Hey, this dude. He's talking about this.
Lord,
hey, guys, I need y'all to stop this border plan because it's going to be an issue I can't run on. And then they were like, okay. And then it became a problem, and everybody was looking around like, what's the problem? Because the dude said don't do nothing about it, and he didn't, and it became a problem. Okay, shocker. But one thing I will say is that Republicans are unscrupulous with power. Like they are unashamed, like they are immoral, unethical. They are nasty. Like they will do whatever they need to do to get power. But because they think this way, it's a vulnerability. Because what they're losing in this idea is that when you get the power, you're going to isolate yourself because it's going to make you paranoid. Because power makes you paranoid when you don't know how to share it. Right. Because you will think the only way I can keep this power is if I'm talking about the Haitians today, then I need another group tomorrow. Well, who's next on the list? The hate just don't stop because the Haitians is gone.
Right, exactly.
It's
not another dog got ate.
What about the geese? He's like,
what about that?
But I will say this is that this dude has condos in people's head. He living in there rent free, man. And as a marketing perspective, you have to understand that any political idea has to live in your head rent free, because if it lives in your head rent free, you can't evict it. And see, what is happening to our idea is that the word idea is not taught to people conceptually correctly. The word idea means to see. It means to see. It means vision. It means to look and see something. So until you can see something, you won't get an idea. So people who are blind just don't have an idea yet. There's nothing they can't see. So because we don't teach it correctly, it confuses us. We think that people who don't have an idea can't see, but it's like, no, they're just blind temporarily. So we have to do is give them the idea. Now, in order to give somebody an idea, you can't give it to them. It has to be their own.
Has to be there, yeah.
And so as a teacher, What I do is I find out ways so that you can wrestle with your own thinking. So I have to be there for it. See, because if you are fighting your own thoughts, why do I have to be present?
Yeah, yeah.
I've already fought my thoughts.
Right.
Oh, and I've wrestled with them ad nauseum. But now you fight yours. But if you fight your thoughts, you're going to find that they can be expounded because you might start to conceptualize. And what conceptualization means is you might begin to see something differently than how others are seeing it. That's conceptualizing it. Now I'm seeing things that no one else is seeing. Now the danger in that is if I see something that no one else sees, then by default I'm delusional. Agreed? I have a
That's agreed because
if I have an understanding that nobody else has, I'm delusional. So I, in order to not be delusional, have to be able to share what I see with you all. And then once I share you all what I see, you might see what I say differently. And then when you tell me what you see, now I have a new idea in my head because of what you see.
So Doc, what you're saying is, to not be delusional, you have to share your illusion.
You have to. And the problem in our political environment is we are creating an environment where we don't want to share with our enemy, because in the first rule of warfare is you don't tell the enemy your plans. Now, we've not had the luxury of this. Now, I will tell you this. Game theory says this. In game theory, the dominant strategy means that you win no matter what the opponent does. So when you have the dominant strategy in game theory, I can go tell my adversary what I'm going to do and then say, come stop it. I can say, hey, we're about to run a full black up the middle, a power I, and we come up the middle. Tell your defense to put their goal line in, and we're going to run the same play. And we're going to blow, and we're going to blow off, and we're going to blow off the line of scrimmage. And to your point about David Walker's appeal, what David Walker was saying was, if you put me on the line of scrimmage, you don't want to fight me. Because I know, I'm like, what's that dude's name? The Donald for Chargers? Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald for Rams.
Aaron Donald, tell that man to play. He gonna stop it. Because he got the best D, because he gonna triple team this guy. But the reason I think it's so important for us is because share quickly what you see with others. Share quickly, because the quicker that you share what you're seeing, the quicker we can conceptualize it. Because sometimes you might just be the initial seer of a vision, and you may not know how to conceptualize what you're seeing. But then you share with somebody who can conceptualize it, and then they can run it by and say, you know what? I can see the vision. Because we all know that vision is only limited when we have an impairment. And that impairment sometimes is our system. We can't see it. Like, how does it continue to do what it does year after year? And it's like, oh, and that's why woke was so dangerous in our community. Because when people got woke, all it meant is they could take off their glasses and they could be like, wait a minute, hold up. They'd be like, wait a minute, I don't need like 2020 vision.
Look, I'm making a prediction, man. That's going to be one of the first pieces of legislation coming out of the Donald Trump camp is that they're going to do anti-woke, anti-DEI. They're going to do that. You know what I'm saying? But I want to transition.
That's the beauty of it. Because when they do that, it's going to create a demand for it. Anytime you tell people they can't do something, the first thing like if I say, don't think about elephant right now, what you gonna think about?
An elephant.
You gonna think about elephant. Because I told you don't do it. And that's like the Barbara Streisand effect. You know, it's like Barbara Streisand said, don't take the pictures of my house. And then by her telling people don't take a picture of it, everybody wants to see what it look like.
Take a picture of what it look like,
But therein is this marketing strategy amongst our community, is that we are learning that it's okay to tell you what I see. Because historically it has been dangerous for us to share our visions with each other. Because my freedom could be dependent on what I shared with you. Because if I was about to run tonight and you told on me because you wanted an extra piece of chicken, it created mistrust among us. So I couldn't trust anybody. And that paranoia of delusion is this idea that we've never seen this on a scale in our lifetime of so many people losing touch with reality at one time.
Yeah, it's
Clinically, we
yeah.
can't diagnose this problem right now because it's too large. When the American Psychological Association did not weigh in on his mental decline and his rhetoric, my concern was he's a malignant narcissist. But my thought process is he cannot psychologically handling losing. Psychologically, he cannot handle it, and he, because he can't handle losing, he'll watch this place burn to console himself.
I mean, you could see it, not to cut you off, but you could see it on election night. You know what I'm saying? Prior to the election, he was like, "Oh, they're cheating, they're cheating," and then up when
setting up the play.
Yeah, and up until he found out he was winning.
What? Ain't no cheating. I heard one Republican say cheating.
Crickets. Yeah. It was crickets out this mug. And so, but with that, you know what I'm saying? I just want to transition to, you know what I mean, to wind this down a little bit. But, just saying that, one of the conversations, I had with somebody was like, hey, as Black people, we know how to survive this. You know what I'm saying? We know how to survive. We know how to create community. I think we have great conversation tonight. You know what I'm saying? I think that is something that's going to have to continue over these next 4 years to create a bigger community and bigger dialogue and conversation. But all of that comes with researching facts, researching the policies, seeing, taking feelings out of that, taking feelings out of it. Go see what the policy is, see what it is, see how it's going to affect you and your community. Because at the end of the day, local politics is going to touch you faster than federal politics. But anyway, and so with this prompt, I just want to, just talk about like, at the end of the day, we gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? This is off of, this is off of Kendrick. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? So, and JY, if you want to share your thoughts, man. I'll start with you.
Yeah, man. Look, as me and the wife been speaking and so forth, and like if everything hit the fan, we good. You know what I'm saying? Like if it truly hit the fan, where from all of the X accounts and so forth, where they got recordings of in white spaces, basically saying that they want all the colors out of the country. Like, we gonna be all right regardless of how this country goes, because financially we've been doing what we're supposed to be doing, and at the end of the day, we are strategically making plans. We're also trying to connect with other people. Like, we are already making plans to do what we got to do just in case. Because at the end of the day, we already, like, I know we came from that situation. We already seen what the bottom looked like. So, and we turned out all right. All the struggles, the stolen wash machine, you know what I'm saying? Like, not having a wash machine until we was in our teens. Had to hand wash, like, no, we done seen it all, where just eating biscuits and syrup for dinner. Like, we done seen it all. So at the end of the day, if things go wrong and I gotta go back to sit back eating some swine, look here, that's what I'm going to do to survive. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just what it's going to be. And learning how, or having the muscle memory to understand what your great grandparents went through, your grandparents went through, and you also experiencing that also give you on how to handle it.
Yeah, man. It's a good word. Yeah, man. I told somebody, man, like, look, we've experienced the 3 rungs, that most people don't experience. We went from poverty. We literally lived in a shack, no running water. We went from poverty, being poor, to middle class. You feel what I'm saying? That is our experience, and that is what informs our beliefs. You know what I'm saying? That informs how we think about society, and more importantly, it informs how we see other people. You know what I'm saying? That's how our family is. We see other people because not only, of course, at the time we were in poverty, we had cousins up north who were poor. You know what I'm saying? And so, and so, yeah, man, that's a good word. Brother Kately, go ahead, man.
Now I'm
We're gonna-
gonna follow that up. I'm gonna
Mhm.
follow that up. And one thing that I've done subconsciously and not really thinking about it is I started to build my own independence,
Mm,
right? And I've started teaching that to my kids, like how to grow your own crops, how
mm,
to cook your own food, fishing, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that, gathering. What do you need? Storing it so you can use it. And I think that's something. I think that's something that we should teach the community, just
mm,
how to survive on your own.
mm,
Because if it does get to that point, we have a system in place to
mm,
where we can depend on each other and we can share resources. That stuff becomes more important now more than ever because we've kind of gotten away from that to where we can trade with each other, we can share things with each other, we can share ideas, we can share community, we can share access to stuff that we don't necessarily have in areas, but just building a network to where we can throw these things out, keep people aware of what's going on in our community is something I want to do, and
mm.
that's something that I'm gonna work towards. I don't know if I'm gonna be successful, but I'll try. You know,
You are successful
um,
because you're teaching your kids.
Yeah.
right, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just building stuff like that that's been my focus, but it's becoming more important the older I
Mhm.
get. And that's
Yeah.
just because I'm kind of like you guys. We had running water, but we didn't have a lot of money. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
You had to pinch a lot of pennies. But
Hmm.
that stuff like growing your own vegetables, making sure you didn't have to go to the grocery store too much, like that type of stuff I picked up from my grandmother.
Mm.
And that's the type of stuff that I want to leave behind. But I'm with you guys, man. Whatever happens, we've been down this road before. We're not foreign to what's gonna happen.
Hmm.
That's the beauty of the situation.
Hmm.
It's not a surprise to us anymore. Like
Right.
2016 was a shock. That was a
Yeah.
shock to the system because
Sure.
you didn't see it coming. But in hindsight, he was working on it. He was
Mhm.
working on it from the beginning. He didn't know whether he was going to be a Republican or a Democrat. He
Mhm.
just wanted the party that would give him the most power, and he
Access.
found it. And
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
built it, and here we are.
Mhm.
So we got to figure out now. We got to figure out now is just how to ride this storm out and come out on the other side of it better.
Mhm.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, man. I mean, that's really what it is. And, it really is about, you know, I think um, it is going to be about community, who we let in. You know what I'm saying? Who we let in. More importantly, we can't just lend our trust out to anybody. You know what I'm saying? There has to be way more gatekeeping. That's what I
Mhm.
believe. There got to be way more gatekeeping, man. Gatekeeping, as we saw, one of the prompts I had was no allies. You know what I'm saying? But like, as we saw with white women who were sitting here having these phone calls, and oh man, you ain't got to vote the same way your husband do. Guess what they did? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I gotta have more eyes on. Anyway, it's gonna be all right, man. Like, we know how to handle these situations. We know what we need to do. We know how to organize. The blueprint is there. You know what I'm saying? For me personally, I'm gonna be going to more NAACP meetings,
Mhm.
so that I can be connected to what's going on not only in the community but state level, federal level. You know what I'm saying? But also, I believe in what Charles Blow said, that black people who are living, on the West Coast, living in these small areas where they don't have anywhere close to a majority. There's only 10% of black people that live on the entirety of the West Coast.
Mhm.
Move back to the South, and we take over local politics. You know what I'm saying? Take over the state
Mhm.
government and things of
Mhm.
that nature. And I think that that's how we need to be thinking. Going forward. You know what I'm saying? People that live up north, hey Doc, man, the weather's nice down. It's all right down here, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I will tell you this, man. I'm a strategic thinker first
Mhm.
because my thought process is something. It was a debate between Malcolm X and I think James Farmer,
Mm.
It was one of the only few debates that Malcolm X lost.
Mm-hmm.
Because James Farmer made some arguments that he couldn't really have it. He said, listen, the problem in a racist country of gathering everybody in one location is you create an easier target for your enemy to kill you at. And I agree with that. I think strategically it makes no sense for us to be in one spot because it's easier to blockade resources from us. It's easier to segregate us and isolate us and essentially starve us to death. And we can essentially create our own concentration camp in the state. I mean, we could, but the reason I think it's important is because what I see is that we are creating, we are creating as we go, and sometimes in order to create praxis, you must trust theory. We don't trust theory enough to create our own praxis. What does that mean? What it means is that in order to test the theory, I have to experiment with my children. We don't understand that. I have to experiment with my children. When B.F. Skinner was doing unethical research that he could not get approved, guess who he experimented on?
Black women.
His own
children. No, I'm sorry. Yeah,
his own children.
Children. Yeah, you're right.
Because when you want to test a theory you believe in, you test it on your children first. And what do we test to trust with our children? Now, historically, we've told our Black children, especially Black mothers, we said, hey, we just want you to come back home safely. But I submit to you all, that's how you make a slave. That's the ingredients. Teach my kid to come home safely, not to stand up for your rights. Now, I'm not saying that it's coming home safely is a good strategy. Trust me, especially if you don't know how to stand up for your rights. Do what you're told, because psychological safety is. My mom said, do what I was told. She didn't tell me to stand up for my rights. Think about what that means psychologically when I'm in a fearful situation. My mom just told me to violate my own rights because he told me something that was not lawful, but my mom still do what I'm told. See, that's problematic. And in a community, we have to start teaching our parents how to teach our children, because our parents cannot practice with their children because they don't trust theory. They don't trust that. They don't trust it because we are, for lack of a better words, we're superstitious people.
Yeah, no,
we're very superstitious.
We are.
And then we're ominic oriented. I mean, we're old wise tales, and this isn't everybody, but this is a large majority of our community. Where, to your point about, I went to a church one time when women couldn't even speak at the church.
Yeah,
they couldn't even wear pants. Like the church said, you couldn't wear pants, and I'm like, they make pants for women, bro. Like these are women pants. She ain't got dudes pants on. But this thinking is so problematic because it's exploitable, because there is this idea that you cannot be free from somebody who serves a God who would allow their deity to enslave you under their own righteousness. This is problematic psychologically, because if your God can absolve you from treating me like a slave and you can be righteous because of it, then what does it make me in this system? What does it make me? And it makes me a perpetual, because it's my job to teach slavery to my children. We think it was the slave master's job to make a slave. It was not. It was the parents' job. It was you made the slave. You explained to them these things. And I believe that we're getting to a point where we're going to have to make choices in our communities that we're going to have to, I think these kids now call it standing on business. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, I think that's,
y'all heard this term, standing on business. So if you're going to stand on business, you need to know what business needs to be stood on before the business approaches you. You know, because I need to have already determined the business that needs to be stood upon before the business comes. Because if I have to wait until the situation happens to determine if I need to be standing on it, now I'm going to be in praxis and I can't trust my theory. So when we can create that, that's why I'm be teaching the course on theory too, because one of the things I'm learning is if you ask somebody what theory is, it exists to explain a phenomenon. And now that this election is over, we have to explain the phenomenon. And many people will come up with a lot of different theories.
Right.
And the concern is that when you can intersect multiple theories at once, I see game theory, I see critical race theory, I see social learning theory, I see punctuated equilibrium theory. Like I see all of these things working concurrently. And you see post-traumatic slave syndrome, which is internalized oppression.
Yeah.
Where you got black people who are afraid of a country where white people ain't in charge. They're afraid. It scares them. It's like, oh my God, if a white person is telling me what to do, what are we gonna be okay? Because they don't trust black intelligence. They don't trust the idea that we are competent and capable because they don't see it because no one's ever given them the idea. All right, I'm gonna stop talking, fellas.
You good. You good, man. You good, man. Shout out to the bro, man. What's up? What's up, brother Herm, man? What's happening?
Tell him, tell him to come on.
Yeah, no.
Hey, tell him to come on. Hey, if I heard, I know he ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, no, not after that, dog. You out here like,
we done went through the section of the conversation where we done we done talk. Yeah. Border wall, immigration, and we did all that. Look, Herm, we can't do that tonight.
They built this Great Wall in China. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called this Great Wall of China. But do you know what the problem with the wall in China was? You know what the problem with it was? Is that
isolation? Isolation?
Well, that's part of it. But part of the problem is you can flank it. You can flank it. You just have to know how to do it. You can tunnel under it. You know there's tunnels in South Korea that you can get 30,000 people through in an hour. And I'm saying, like,
wasn't Vietnam when Americans go over there, they take them on tunnel tours.
Hey, but you ever notice why people who want to wall the southern border don't want to wall the northern border?
Oh my goodness. That was my argument. Canada.
There are more people overstaying their visas from Canada, but we don't want to talk about it.
That's the number one. That's the number one problem.
Hey, listen. Let me find out. Listen. Remember when the Ukrainians came here and they said, "Hey guys, black people, these Ukrainians are kind of racist. They might call y'all the N-word, but it's okay. They just don't know better." And I was like, you know what? It'd be nice to go to a country and expect the people to say, hey, you know what? These people are a little bigoted, but help them out a little bit.
Yeah.
In this good old state of America, man. Look, we gotta let them good old white folk in. And we gotta let them stay, all right?
Hey,
we gotta put that wall up and make sure that them brown folk can't jump over it, all right? Some of them brown folk, they can jump real high.
The thing is this. It was Ross Perot predicted this with NAFTA, and he said, "Well, what's going to happen?" John on here with his gunsling. No, but see, you know what? They said this same thing. Is that when you begin to see history repeat itself and you tell people about it, it looks like you're a prophet, and you're not a prophet. You just study.
You've seen it.
You just see it, and it's like, there are people who are afraid to tell people what they see because they see too far ahead.
Right.
And I can't tell you what I see too far ahead because it may cause you to panic right now.
Yeah.
Because
they make it called delusional right off the bat.
Yeah. And so Miller's law, Miller, he's the one who invented cognitive psychology. And he said this: in order to understand what somebody is saying, you must first assume what they're saying is true, and then you must figure out what it is true of. And see, I give everybody the assumption that they're telling me the truth. But then once you tell me it, then I will dissect it to see what it is true of, because it could be true of make-believe. And so because I'm going to give you the validity of being truthful, then I'm going to expect that if you are presented with information that contradicts, then you should be able to at least assess it. Because if you dismiss information that contradicts your opinion before you even giving any analysis, then you're an ideologue. And see, you can't talk to ideologues in this time, because what an ideologue will do is think that they have the only way or solution.
Yeah.
And anytime somebody thinks they have the only way or solution, they've already failed. Because in many counselors, there is safety, in many opinions. And when I would say gatekeep, my thought process is this: tell them, don't gatekeep. Just tell them what's on the other side of the gate and they won't want to come. Tell them what's there. Tell them what's on, and then give them the choice and say, listen, let me tell you what's here. Because if you know there's a monster behind this gate, there's a monster behind this gate. And you know the word monster, if you break it down etymologically, the word means to think. The word monster. Now, anybody who makes you think something you don't want to think is monstrosity. Because thoughts scare you. Fear, monstrosity is unshapely. The current word monster means something that's unformed, unshapely. But the origin of unshapely meant something mental. It means what it does to the person. And when I started to see the ideas of being a monster, anyone who makes you, that's why I think Lady Gaga calls her fans little monsters. It's an idea that anybody who is making you think critically can scare you. Because I'm going to tell you, and my final thought will be this: if I tell you what's behind the gate, I can't untell you after you know. I can't untell you after I know. So I will say, if you go behind the gate, we're going to put a warning sign at the gate. Enter at your own peril. You might not make it out of the gate, but you're free to go back there. What we've done is, because of paternalism, because we don't trust Black people to make their own choices as individual grown-ups, we put gates for them and said, like a kid gate, like a little kid puppy gate. And we said, well, no, it ain't your time to go there yet. And it's like, no, remove the gate. But you know what's behind that gate is savage. And I think what's behind that gate is, we often talk about the mask that Black people wear in our society, but we don't talk about the mask that white people wear. We don't talk about their mask, but they wear one. And now we can talk about it openly, because
that mask is off.
It's off. Well, but the thing is, I think when the mask comes off, when they can do January 6th to a Black person in this country. Because see, I saw lynch energy on January 6th. I saw this is what a lynching would look like.
Right.
It was a mob of ruling people who wanted violence. Every lynching,
vice president almost felt the full wrath of that.
Yeah.
He was white. And he was white. Usually, now people don't talk about this. There was a history of white people being lynched in this country prior to our emancipation. Vigilante justice is as American as apple pie. We love vigilante justice. What has happened, though, is that we have created this environment where now the law not being on our side creates a problem, because the people who will do violence to us know they will have impunity. Like when Daniel Perry was pardoned by the governor in Texas for killing the protester at the Black Lives Matter protest. When Kyle Rittenhouse was killing Black Lives Matter protesters and he got off the sentence. So this country is sending a very clear signal to white supremacists. If you murder people who support Black freedom in this country, you are okay. And that's dangerous. That's my final word.
Okay. Yeah, man. Appreciate that, Doc, man. All right, JY, you got to follow that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow that up, man, and I'm gonna say this, man. I look, when they stormed the Capitol, I actually was supporting them guys, and I sat back and I was saying, well, maybe they're going in there and they're gonna say Medicare for all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You being serious? Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like
that ain't the Medicare for all group.
yeah. I thought they was gonna say Medicare for all.
Wage.
Yeah, minimum wage. I thought that's what they were gonna go do.
Tax credit, healthcare.
But when I realized that they were just there to spread shit on the wall and defecate in the place, I realized what they thought about this country.
Oh,
hey, man.
And they think this country is shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they know for a fact that they are the ones who ruined it.
Yeah. Yeah. Brother Kately, man. You got the final word.
If you really want to scare them, if you really, really want to scare them, support Black businesses. Lift them.
Mm-hmm.
It will terrify them. But there's nothing they can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really want to see what fear looks like, lift a Black business from unknown to powerhouse and see what it does.
Mm-hmm.
That's my final thought.
Hey, put some on the list.
Yeah. I think
because we got to start. Because a lot of times, I will tell you this, we don't know. A lot of times, if you have the marketing budget, we don't know about them.
Right,
No,
right. That's facts, man.
I'll give you one right now. I actually support them. Black-owned business. You can go to their website right now. They're all skincare products, organic, everything. It's called Netter Gold.
Oh, I just bought some. I just bought some stuff from Netter.
Netter Gold.
Yeah, Netter Gold.
Oh, I bought some beard care. I bought stuff from all the time.
I've been supporting them for years, man, and Black owned.
Okay.
All the products are organically made. He does videos, tutorials, show you how to take care of yourself.
Yeah, he does.
And he sells things like sea moss, and he tells you what you can do with them. Like he's a very, very helpful brother. And I actually got to talk to him, and I actually learned a lot about what his business is catered towards and what he wants to do with it. I think it's a very good move for the community. His marketing plan is actually hilarious, but it serves a purpose. It lets you know that this product is intended for Black people. But anybody could use it because it's an organically made product. But the slogan, "Why are you so ashy?" is intended to cater directly to
the Black people.
The Black people. So I would give you that one too. But I'll come up with a list of Black
I think that's what something I'm gonna post in the group, in our Facebook group, man. Hey, post Black, do a Black Business Monday or something, Black Business Wednesday, or some at least do 3 times a week, 3 or 4 times a week. I'm gonna do that. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Post a Black business, and then we just blow it up all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's a great idea, man. Next time, talk to him. Like, where my shipment at, though, boss? Bought the junk last week. But you say it's all natural, so he probably cooking it up in the back.
No, he is. He cooks them up, man.
Yeah.
But you're going to a I know you're trying to close, but you're going to a real important part.
It is
because when you start talking about products and small businesses and Black businesses and so forth, what we need to work on, we don't have logistics.
That's for real. Yeah,
we don't have logistics, and we need to create logistics for Black businesses. Which means I'm gonna get off this call and I'm gonna go talk to my missus about see what we can do.
No, and I'm gonna say this. I think that we need to use these spaces, use social media to talk about Black businesses. You know what I'm saying? So even if it's coming on, hey, today, we're gonna jump on TikTok, or jump on Twitter, jump on whatever, and we just gonna specifically just talk about Black businesses, products that we bought from them. You know what's crazy? Martin Luther King talked about this, 1964, the bread basket. You know what I mean? Breadbasket movement in 1964. But basically, you know what I'm saying? But it's the same thing that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So I'm most definitely put it in the book, put it in our group, man. That's a great idea, brother Caitlin. And I think that is a foundation for you know, what we were talking about, you know, how we gonna be all right, how we gonna move forward, how we gonna insulate ourselves, and how we gonna come together and find, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, we, you know, how we gonna move forward, man. Yeah, I'm most definitely gonna do that, man. And I'm most definitely gonna be doing you know, trying to do more book clubs, educate folk, and get an NAACP. You know, go ahead, bro.
I do want to say something. I do want to say something about the whole black business thing. I think we need to be careful of the black businesses that we support, because if they turn their green dollars into white dollars,
like the white.
Hey, second and third order effects.
Yeah, we have to be careful and selective.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Very good point. Very
but
good point.
I would say that one thing we need to focus on, you know, we're all from, you know, even though me and Burrow, we live in South Carolina, we're from different parts of South Carolina. So if we find, but Caitlin, Dr. Ham, you know, there's black businesses where y'all are at, you know, this is, you know, support. You know,
find out who owned Plantation Pancakes in South Carolina.
Plantation Pancakes.
It's called. I you know, every time I go to South Carolina, they be still having stuff named after like plantations. I know it's a cultural thing. It makes me uncomfortable because I just been thinking like, wait a minute, I don't want to do no plantations right now, bro.
Yeah,
like, what?
I was looking at houses and I was looking at it, I'm like, oh man, I love the floor plan of this house. And then, you know, scroll over and I was like, Plantation Estates.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
I'm like,
oh, I know it just has a negative connotation.
I'm about to burn this all day.
That was the first thing me and the missus said when we was looking for a house. It cannot say plantation in the name.
Hey, but I would say this though. I would say this. I saw somebody, I was coming out of Rite Aid, and they was like, I think it wanted some money, and you know, I was like, here you go. I just gave him some money.
Yeah.
And they was like, I'm not gonna buy no drugs with this. And I was like, listen, I said, I don't care what you do with this money. It's your money. If you want to go buy drugs with it, life is hard. I said, go get you some drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like, because see, what I don't like happening is I don't like paternalism among people, because like this, I have a thought process. I'll let people borrow up to $100 before I sit down with them and go over their financial plan. Mm-hmm. So it's the thing. Once you reach $100 with me, I have to sit down with you and go over all of your money expenditure. Mm-hmm. And most people don't want to do that with you. They don't want to sit down and go over their budget. They just want your money, but they don't want to sit down and go over their budget. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a win-win. I'll give you $100 to give you some budgeting courses because you got some issues because you're coming to me for money. But I don't want to turn you away. I don't want to just help you and give you money. I want to sit down and look at this issue.
Yeah.
But when you tell them that, they don't want that. But that's a form of paternalism. And we have mistaken paternalism as a negative thing when it's inter-community.
Yeah.
To me, paternalism is bad when it's coming from somebody who don't know me.
Right.
You ain't my mama. Like, you ain't my mama. That's a thing in our community. Like, only my mama can talk to me this way. When you become her, you can talk to me like that. And I think we create this idea where we have to be protective from external paternalism, but embrace internal paternalism. Because if I'm telling you something paternalistic, it's because your physical age, which whatever it is, could be 42, and your psychological age are totally different. You only 12 psychologically, but you got a 40-year-old body. Now that's a problem because you're very immature, because we don't expect 40-year-olds to act the way you do. But you have a wound from your childhood and you've never grown up. So there's a 20-year age gap between what you're presenting as and what you physically are. Now, what we have to do is figure a way to connect you quickly. And we can't jump you from 12 to 42 overnight. Just logistically, to your point about, like, we need logistics in our community. Logistically, that's a problem. Now I can probably get you to 15 or 12. Maybe I get you to 12 if I'm lucky. Let's get to 40.
Yeah.
Okay. But when I get you to 20, you might realize this grown-up stuff is okay.
Yeah.
And you might want to go a little further, but I've seen this happen because it's immaturity. You see a lot of grown black men who are immature.
40-year-old crash house, man. That's a 40-year-old crash.
Bro, it's like you a kid. And it's like, I'm not saying that to be critical of you, but listen, bro, you got friends on your page that talk like they 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, like if you disagree with me, calling me a name, it's like,
yeah.
You are what?
Yeah.
I'm like, I have no time. I have not called you any names. I gave validity to your foolish arguments, and you want to call me a name? At least refute me. Ad hominem attacks are silly. I'm a freaking doctor.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be braggadocious or arrogant, but I know a little bit what I talk about. I don't just mix it up.
In the comments, you stupid face. You know what
I'm like, look, bro, I don't say that because some of the smartest people that I know have no college education. They have wisdom.
Yeah, man.
They're wise. They have lived a life and they know how to move in spaces, and they can't get it from no classroom.
And that's why I rely on y'all too in the comments.
Yeah.
I rely on y'all in the comments because I don't have that kind of patience.
You do. You do. Hey, y'all do. Hey, I salute y'all guys. Hey, because let me tell you what I do. I have this new philosophy now. I have determined very early you don't want to learn. See, I'm a student first. I want to learn from everybody. Tell me your perspective, and hopefully, if it makes sense, I'll agree with it.
Right.
But don't try to throw holes at what I say, and you don't want to reveal what you think
immediately. They do that immediately.
It's not intellectually honest. It's a form of Hegelian dialectical, which is where you are essentially trying to parse words and meanings, but not get understanding. The Hegelian dialect was so that people with different understandings could get deeper meaning. If you want to talk to me and want deeper meaning, I want to have a conversation. But if you want to talk to me with talking points, I could care less because I know who made those. I want to talk about, like, tell me a story. Tell me a story that why you see the world. But then I'll tell you a story about why I see the world. And maybe in our stories, we'll see why we don't see intersectionality.
Right.
We'll see. But I'm not interested in you want to tell me what Fox News is saying.
Right, exactly.
Who cares what Fox News is saying? They're liars and they're an entertainment channel. But what I will say is this: you guys have great patience, man. You do. I support blocking and deleting people. I do. I didn't used to, but I do now. And let me tell you why. Because I have no time. I have no time to share the time and years of research and energy that I have to foolish people to give my pearls to swine. It's disrespectful to me.
Right.
It's disrespectful to them. Because I am going to give you validity by even speaking to me. You are going, when a fool talks to a wise person, the fool looks wise and the wise person looks foolish. And I can't allow them to look foolish, to look wise when they're foolish arguments. Now, because I agree with you, Jai. Hey, I cooperate with people all the time. My first thought process with anybody I meet is cooperate with you. But any of you don't want to cooperate with me, I will cease cooperating with you. And in the event that you want to re-engage cooperation, I will re-engage. But you have to start. And that to me has become our challenge, is that we think that if politics is really warfare, and you have shown me you are an enemy, your proximity to me is a liability. It's a liability. Because you will tell my plans to my adversaries. Because you will now spend time to plot to bring my plans to nothing. Which is why the first person, and I'll leave you guys with this, the first person you share an idea with is the most important person in the world. The first person who hears an idea come from your mind, maybe it's your wife, maybe it's a close friend, maybe it's somebody, a trusted confidant, but whoever that person is will determine the conceptualization of it, because they can put fire to that idea because it's a baby, it's infantile, it's a seed, or they can spark it and it can grow. And some people just want to shit on your seed. That's all they want to do. They don't want to help it grow. They don't want to build your argument. They want to come to your, like, how they come to your page with their agenda and then act like they being objective.
Right.
Why don't y'all talk about this?
Then I go to your page and you ain't talking about nothing important.
Right. Yeah.
But you want to come to my page and talk about the issues of the day.
Right. You just say some silly shit like, come on, guys, we can all be friends.
Okay. But if you tell them there were German people in there were Jewish people in Nazi Germany who their neighbors were the ones who turned them in. The people who lived next door were the ones who turned them in because they knew if they lost their house, they could rob their stuff.
Man, I'm gonna say this, Doc. You know, when I went to Dachau in Germany, and Dachau,
I did too.
Oh man, that's a heavy place, and I don't know how
As soon as you get to the gate where the stream rolls through, you feel it. You feel everything.
I'm glad
that's the first place I went to, and I've actually, if you feel the chill.
No, you do. You feel a heaviness on there. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how I'm gonna act when I go to the mother continent and I go to some of them slave castles. You know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to say, you know, one of the things that they highlight in Dachau was that there came a point in during the war where there were Germans who were criticizing Hitler. You know what I'm saying, or criticizing the German government. Dachau was where they took them. So they started arresting Germans and they started putting them in camps and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? And so that's going to be something to be on the lookout for. You know what I'm saying? With this man in the White House talking about going after his political enemies and all the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, but yeah, man, I appreciate you guys, man, for tuning in, man. Appreciate Doc for coming, man, as always, and appreciate JY as always, man. And most definitely appreciate your brother Kately for making time out your day to come in, man. I greatly appreciate that. You know, and on that, we're gonna end it. All right, man.
Yeah, Byron Donald's the ops.
What's that?
I said Byron Donald's is the ops.
Yo. Hey man, go offline.
I just wanted to end it that way.
Hey, go offline. Hey, we still live? Yeah. I want to say that, dude.